Alright guys, here we go, on our way to the movie shoot. Let me tell you, driving this thing after a long winter is definitely a welcome experience today. So we're not going to push it too hard, we're not going to do anything too crazy. We're just going to cruise along. She's warmed up and we'll get to the movie shoot. And I am a little concerned though about this air dryer not working. I don't want to have any issues as the sun goes down if I have to move the bus later, and not having a highway tractor there to use my new air line with the alcohol. So we'll take it one step at a time, try to catch any curveballs as they arrive, or I should say as they arise. And yeah, so for anyone who's never seen the layout of one of these MC9s, it's very primitive. Everything is very simple. There are no computers, no control modules like in the newer buses. My door is mechanical. It is a 5-speed Fuller that I double clutch. It's a non-synchronized transmission paired with a 6V92 Detroit diesel. So basically very simple compared to a new coach. We have our mirror heat, which is currently not functioning, which is something that I would like to do someday. Then our Jake brake, our tag axle unload. This has actually been changed out from being the solenoid shift reverse to being an AV select to go between the radio and the VCR for the aftermarket TVs. Our fast idle, which works amazingly. When I start the bus and there's no air pressure, if I actually turn on the fast idle, it will not allow the bus to fast idle until everything is aired up and tensioned up properly to avoid causing any damage or throwing any belts or anything, which is pretty cool. Then my driver air conditioning, my driver's defrost, low and high, my coach heat, which I have on now with my thermostat set to the highest possible temperature. Then we have the step light and the chimes, which is really cool. This switch allows you to hit the little bar above your seat and get that little ding to notify the driver of wanting the next stop if you're on a route, or maybe if there's a tour guide on the bus, you can get their attention that way. The indirect lights, which are my absolute favorite. At night, these things glow just a nice, warm, nostalgic, incandescent glow along all the windows and along the headliner over the overhead cargo rack. Then I have my driver's light, which has actually been retrofitted into this little panel. It used to be right up in the actual headliner, but when they put the TVs in, they dropped this down to have a spot to mount the audio-video equipment and moved that light, but it still works. And then I have my clearance lights, my headlights, my hazards. This is the aftermarket controller for the original VCR. So at this time, all this does is just turn on my VCR, and the VCR has actually been replaced. Originally, this has run, stop, rewind, fast forward, and all that. And sorry, this actually does my power. It also does my volume, so I can turn it up and down on here, but it doesn't actually control the cassette anymore. My tack, which wasn't working when I got the bus, but in the electrical panel just next to the driver outside, I found a male and female plug about an inch apart and not connected, and I connected it and my tack works and it's accurate, so why not? All of the dash lights do work. My air pressure gauge is not sitting properly in the housing, so what I would like to do in the spring is take this apart to detail it, and I'll get that seated properly. But all of the backlighting works, all of the indicator lights work. So, you know, my high beam, backup light, my not gen, everything there works. On the wheel, I do have my electric street horn, which only one of the notes, oh there we go, it works. And then my foot pedal, the rear foot button is my air horns, and then ahead of it is a very old school foot pedal for my high beams. So I turn on my headlights and I toggle between my high beam and my low beam using my left foot when it's not on the clutch. My interior master power switch, if you want to call it that, is right here. So to start the bus, this has to be turned on in order to use the starter button. But this actually all does nothing if you don't have the master power in the battery bay turned on. So there's two master switches, if you will. And then I have my controls here for my wipers, which are air actuated. So one way will increase the air pressure to the system, and that'll basically give you the intermittent wiper function. So if you turn it on just a little bit, you'll hear the air hissing, and it'll slowly start to go and come back. And then the more you increase the air, the more the wipers go. So this wiper on the driver's side, you can see, is actually taped up right now. And that's from the prop master on its last movie. I was driving up about 5 hours north of where I live to a movie shoot. I had the wipers on storm. I had them on as fast as they would go. And the wiper arm snapped, and my wiper blade went sideways, and it was useless. So I pulled over, and I used two of my company pens that say Shamrock Charters, and I wrapped it up with tape just to get there. And then the prop master made it a little more sturdy with black electrical tape, and during the movie shoot the wipers weren't necessary, so you'd never notice. So that's that. Down here I have my my brakes. So when I'm parked in newer buses and trucks, you pull your yellow knob for your spring brakes. This bus doesn't have spring brakes. It's a very similar type system, which basically applies the parking brake. So that's my knob down here. Obviously my shifter, aftermarket AM/FM radio down here, and I do have a PA system which I have not used in months. Oh, test. Oh, maybe it's just cold. It did work when it was warmer, but obviously something is going on with that, so I will play around with that, see if I can get that fixed. But yeah, guys, this is the bus. Very primitive. Everything is either air powered or hydraulic, I guess. Not even hydraulic, just pressures, whether it be oil, air, another sort of fluid. Very few electronics on this bus. So you can see up there the DIY TV mount, but hey, it's sturdy and it works, and it's from its career, so I'm going to keep it. My destination sign is mechanical. Davy Boy is apparently a prop from a movie that this bus was in before I bought it, which was produced and directed by Sean Penn. But yeah, so I guess for gauges, I got my oil pressure, which is reading a little low, but she's still running very healthily, and it's actually the same oil pressure that I had halfway across the country back in the fall when I drove it home over 2,000 kilometers. Speedometer, water temp, voltmeter, air pressure, and it's only actually one air pressure. Newer vehicles, you have a primary and a secondary, or a primary and an auxiliary. This is just air pressure. And then my fuel gauge, and I do have a full tank of fuel. Before I put it away in storage, I filled it with winter fuel. I didn't want to have any gelling, and honestly I didn't expect there to be any movie work, but I'm glad I did what I did and didn't have to wait until the spring and then have any issues with separation or something like that. So let's see if they give us a look. Nope, couldn't care. It is a lot of fun driving this bus because people think you're in the wrong time period. It's as if I got this thing up to 88 miles an hour with a flux capacitor and came into the future. But all in all, guys, it's been off the road for I'd say about 4 months, and she's operating great. I'm watching my speed right now because she just wants to keep climbing. The air ride feels great. I don't want to jinx anything, but yeah, this is awesome. I do have to replace the black vinyl strip at the same height of the destination sign. I took it out before the last movie, actually, because this bus was never actually a Greyhound, as I've mentioned, so it still had an expression with a smiley face from the family business that owned it before. It said "Have a nice day" with a big goofy smiley face, like one of those department store rollback price promotions. So I wanted to get rid of all that, and so I've flipped the visor up so on the outside it looks okay. But I will be replacing black vinyl there, and also at the top of that window over there I'll get rid of that wood grain vinyl and just put it all black, make it look nice and new and fresh, but also not very obvious that it was replaced. And so on the dash with me I have my transporter tag, and of course with me I have Henry, my co-pilot, who is no longer with us but still goes with me everywhere I go on a bus. So Before COVID, I carried this plate in my driver bag on charters and took them to all the new places I was going. And now that I'm not chartering because of COVID and I have a private bus, he's going to continue riding the buses with me on all of my fun escapades, whether it's going for ice cream with Greg or going to a movie shoot. Henry is still going to be riding buses. So anyway, guys, this is it. I'll check back with you in a bit when we're downshifting, getting on set, and see if I can even get the drone in the air and get some cool shots of this thing. Alright guys, we're just coming into a little town here on our way. We're going to be slowing her down, so I figured I'd grab some POV shifting. Going from 5th to 4th. So we'll just cruise in doing about 60, which is kilometers an hour. Between 35 and 40 mile an hour. And then we'll see up here it's going to drop again to 50, which is just above 30 mile an hour. So I'll drop one more gear maybe and just cruise up to the stop. I'm not going to stop at the rail line because I'm not technically a commercial vehicle, and I do have some traffic behind me that I don't want to impede. I don't have any passengers. It's just not a legal requirement. So here we go. Got a little bit of a growl on that last downshift while I was talking. I wasn't paying attention to my RPM. So I actually used to live on this road about 5 minutes from now, up into the next township on the right hand side. On this road was my first house, which is where I lived when I started driving coach professionally. And I'm glad I moved, but at that house I definitely had more room for big vehicles. So the fry shack is open today. Let's see if I get any looks as I take off. Now this is weird. This is a three-way stop actually. So there's a stop on the left and right, but the oncoming traffic, they don't have to stop. All right. And we'll just cruise out of town at the speed limit in 4th, which we're now at. You guys can see I got all my camera stuff there, so I'm hoping to get some cool shots of the bus today. Alright, we're gonna pick it up now to about 50 mile an hour, which this thing just crawls up to without any hesitation. Montague Township. It's where I was a firefighter for, I left in my 7th year of service. Greg and I moved in together and got a house just inside the city limits, and I definitely miss it. However, I also know that had I stayed in that house and in that role, I wouldn't be where I am at today with my other career and business and whatnot. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. I miss it, but it's great memories. Great people, too. Some of the nicest people and best hardworking people I ever met were on the fire department with me and in the fire service. I just can't get over how this thing holds the road. It just feels so amazing. And you know, you might need a small alignment, but for a 38-year-old vehicle that I've really done nothing except just put fuel and oil into, the wheel is relatively straight. She's not pulling super hard. But this spring I'm putting new rims and tires on. I'll be servicing the brakes, and that'll be the time to get any suspension or steering work done that I'll have to consider. I don't want to powder coat or paint my rims and put everything on and dress the tires and make it look nice if she's not a 10 out of 10 mechanically. So, but you know what, for a hobby, for fun, I love it. Just for fun. So actually, my house is just over the second little crest of this hill here, and I wonder if my neighbors are going to be outside, my old neighbors. Everyone knows that I got this bus. I can't very well hide it when it's at home, so Now, not everybody knows that there's a movie shoot locally, so they're all going to be wondering, why is Sean driving his bus on salty roads? Well, in 38 years, I'm sure she's seen salt once or twice. She didn't live in it. It was a Western bus. She didn't live in the salt, which is why she is in such great shape. But you know what? One more day on some dry roads. These things are meant to be driven. Meant to be loved and cared for too. Maybe not as excessively as I do, but she'll be all right. So that's my neighbor, well, my old neighbor right across the road from me, and I had the first house on the right after the train tracks veer away. So that was my first house, and then my neighbor's. Alright guys, I'll check in with you again soon. Alright guys, we're just coming around the last curve here into this little town that the movie is being filmed in. They've been filming for a little over a week, and I guess nearing the end of the storyline, my bus comes into play. So I'm needed on set today to get those shots done, and it's going to be interesting to see how this is structured. This is a first for me. It's a local company, local actors and director and writer. So I'm excited to see how they've put this together. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to pull over once I pull into the set, and I'm going to try to get the drone up for some cool shots. But in actuality, where we're filming is a repurposed hospital. So back, 40 years ago or 50 years ago, I'm not exactly sure when this place was built, it was a hospital for cognitive and psychiatric type cases, and it was then closed in the late 2000s and bought and redeveloped. But part of it is still undeveloped and original to its first purpose. So this long, cool driveway might be something we can get on the drone. Let's see. Huge thank you to Bice HD. So the way we do this is I take videos, I will cut them down to a proper size, take out dead air, take out things that we don't need in the video. I then spend several days on our slow internet uploading them to him in Florida. He then puts these videos together with his absolute expertise and production value. So Bice, thank you so much. I can't take any credit for editing. What I meant by that was just that I trim the fat, give him the good stuff, and then he just makes it an absolute masterpiece. So go down to the link below and check out his channel. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel, these videos, and all of his too, and we'll have more to come. Thanks, guys.